Hi honey, how are you? Welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, I'm Teknikolour. I was still inspired by spooky season and wanted to build a witchy cottage or something, so I built this occult house in Innisgreen, the world that ships with the Enchanted by Nature expansion. But before we dive into the video, I post tons of Sims builds here on YouTube, so if you enjoyed this one, please be sure to like and subscribe. Also, if you're planning on grabbing any Sims packs, you can support me by using my creator code, Teknikolour, at checkout on the EA app. I receive a small commission from EA whenever my code is used at no extra cost to you, which helps me create content like this full time. So I really appreciate it. I built this right before I threw my Halloween party, and I really wanted to make something like a witchy cottage or a fairy house or something like that. Originally, the intent was to make something kind of autumny, with pumpkins and changing leaves and all of that. But apparently that part slipped my mind by the end. For the actual shell here, though, I wanted a fairly simple shape, essentially a box with some towers. Nothing too extravagant, but I did want a porch, and I was hoping to have a sort of second-story walkway to another building, which eventually just turned into another tower. It actually took me quite a bit of time to decide where I wanted to build too. I've built too many similar builds in Glimmerbrook, Brindleton Bay. I think I also put on a self-imposed ban of building in Copperdale until I finally decide to take the plunge and make over the high school. So that was off the table. Oddly, Ravenwood felt like this build would feel out of place. You get it. After a ton of deliberation, I decided on Innisgreen, the world that came with Enchanted by Nature. Innisgreen, and this pack in general, is so interesting to me because I ended up really enjoying it, and I was quite frankly disappointed when they announced that we were getting fairies in the game. I feel like context is probably needed here because I might have been the only uninterested simmer because the entire community was practically demanding fairies around this point. But The Sims 4 is my first Sims game, ever. I had no previous experience with any of the prior games until I had started playing The Sims 4, between the releases of high school years and growing together. Having Realm of Magic, I didn't really understand how fairies would fit into this game, or why that would need a whole expansion pack. But then Enchanted by Nature released, and I found myself really digging the whole vibe of the pack. The build buy is beautiful, and the gameplay was really fun for me. Plus, the world itself is stunning. Also, I have to stop here for a moment because if you've been following the channel for a bit, you're going to be shocked at what we're about to do here. I decided to go all out with terrain manipulation on this lot. I am not a terrain person. I mean, I've been pushing myself more and more to attempt it in my builds, and I'm definitely not hating it as much as I used to, but sometimes I just feel like it feels so out of place. Here, though, I wanted to seriously push the envelope. I gave the building a much higher foundation than I'm used to, and then I just went at it with the terrain. I wanted it to be super hilly and not just like a tiny bit. Like, I wanted this to be bumpy and for there to be a lot of elevation changes and to just feel more natural. I think I do end up adjusting terrain throughout the entire video to fit into what I was envisioning, which is really hard to do when you have the worst depth perception. For real. I remember I was in maybe junior high school, I think. I would get so distracted during classes because I swear my eyes were doing something funky, and I'd be watching the teacher and their head would like slightly shift over or get a little larger or smaller, almost like my focus was just adjusting on its own for absolutely zero reason. I mentioned it to my mom and she was like, well, that's not supposed to happen, and brought me to the eye doctor. I vividly remember this eye doctor and doing all these weird tests with my eyes, and even taking a pen and telling me to focus on it as he moved it closer to and further away from my nose. And then, as if it was Not a big deal at all. He just exclaimed that I had a lazy eye. Essentially, my right eye, at least, I think it's my right eye, kind of just shuts down when both of my eyes are open and lets my other eye do all the heavy lifting. The pen test is quite funny now because it's almost like a party trick that I can do. Most people can cross their eyes, but the pen test proves that I cannot. And that eventually both of my eyes just look out to the same direction and not inward. The worst part, the doctor was like, yeah, if we had caught this sooner, you could have worn an eye patch for a bit and it could have corrected itself, but now there's really nothing we can do. Which, looking back on it now, I feel like there was definitely things that could have been done, but the doctor just decided it was fine. I didn't even need glasses at the time. I didn't get these until I was in college, and they most certainly didn't fix this issue. And honestly, it's not a huge deal. I honestly don't even really notice an issue anymore until it comes to depth perception. That's usually needed in a lot of video games, especially platformers, which I love. It's so hard to know where my character is going to end up, so it takes a lot of tries in a lot of games. Actually, one of my Twitch moderators, who is pretty much amazing at most games, especially platformers, Dave, gave me one of the best pieces of advice. Watch where your character's shadow is, because that'll help more than watching the character itself. This doesn't help in the real world, though. Going to zoos or aquariums is such a pleasure with me, because even if I put my hand out in front of my face, I still smack my face on the glass enclosures every time, without fail. Well, anyway, one of the best parts of the build buy from Enchanted by Nature is the fact that a lot of it feels very natural. Like, there's a wallpaper that looks like tree bark or wooden flooring that feels less like it's made of wood and more like you're walking inside on an actual tree. Stuff like that. It was really easy to blend the terrain with the natural decor, so it would feel more earthy. And even though this doesn't really end up that much of a spooky build, it added to the overall theming. One part about the overall exterior design that took me quite a bit longer than I had anticipated was the roofing. At some point, I decided to make the roof more swirly, and then I basically had to realign all of the roof pieces so they'd fit together again. I definitely ran into one roadblock that I might need the advice of some experienced builders to learn how to fix, so if that's you, please let me know in the comments. I struggled for a bit trying to figure out how to make the bridge between the two buildings work together visually. At one point, I was even trying to put roof pieces under the bridge itself, and that didn't work out. However, the porch roof extends out onto the bridge slightly by the door to the main building. I have no idea if this will become an issue for pathing for your Sims, but I'd imagine so. I tried so many different things to try to get this spot to work. I had the porch extend out more so it'd go past the bridge, and I'd use more roof pieces. That didn't look right either. Everything I tried felt like it was creating more problems than it was solving, so I just resorted back to a simple roof piece that just, unfortunately, hangs a bit out onto that bridge. How would you tackle this? I'm certain there has to be some sort of fix, easy or otherwise, but my brain was just not braining. And honestly, it still isn't braining because I don't see how else I could have fixed it looking at it now. Onto the interior of the build. The entryway and kitchen might be my favorite part of this entire house. I ran into a bit of a lighting issue while designing this though. I knew I wanted the entryway to be open to above, so light could come in from the front door as well as the windows on the second floor right above the door. However, I didn't want interior windows letting light flow through the greenhouse into the main living area. So the only natural light we'd be getting was from that front entry area and the back tower. And actually, when I was building this, I didn't even have a chimney yet. My boyfriend had gotten home from work around the time I was finishing working on the shell and exterior, and he suggested I add the chimney for visual interest, which honestly was what this space needed, but then that left me with barely any natural light. I thought that using the windows from Enchanted by Nature, even though I'm using them elsewhere throughout the build, wouldn't quite fit in above the kitchen counters and next to the chimney in a way that felt normal. Once I decided on using those square windows from Life and Death, I knew we were on the right path. The wood frames were very similar to the wood I was using elsewhere, so it didn't feel out of place, even though the style is completely different. Plus, it added to the cottagey feel in a more typical way versus the more natural style I'd been embracing up to this point. I feel like it sort of helps bridge the two styles because it makes the entire build shine this way, in my opinion. This also posed another issue though. I wanted a fireplace nestled in the spot where the chimney is, and there's windows on both sides, so that left me nowhere for a fridge. I figured I would add in an island, but that still wouldn't help us with the fridge placement. I did have a vague idea that I might be adding in a cauldron into that tower, because I knew it'd fit nicely, and then I could decorate around it, making the face feel more like an occult kitchen than just a regular kitchen with fairy-themed cabinets. Once I decided to have the island kind of wrap around that wall of the greenhouse and lead into the tower, morphing from island counters to kitchen cabinets, it was set. Just add the oven and fridge in that spot, and everything would be in close proximity to each other, and the cauldron. Then decorating it visually, it started looking like Sims could be living here. It wasn't just a basic fairy kitchen anymore. Although, watching this back now, I'm remembering that I put that scale from Realm of Magic down to eventually raise up onto that corner cabinet, and it's quite possibly still there on the floor. I might need to check on that before I upload this lot to the gallery. Actually, I might have already uploaded it to the gallery at this point. I'm not entirely sure. Either way, if you grab this from the gallery and there's a random scale on the floor, I'm so sorry. For getting an item that you took out for whatever reason and then not putting it into place or deleting it is so embarrassing. Anyway, since I squeezed a little entryway in between the stairs and kitchen, and then have a door leading into the greenhouse right behind the kitchen island, that kind of left this weird space for the rest of the house on the first floor. Originally, I was planning on having a side door to the other end of the porch, but by this point it felt so unnecessary. So I decided to draw out a room to put a bathroom in that spot and leave the main tower space for a living room. This living room is so tight, but still feels cozy. And I'm still not entirely sure how I managed to do that. Here's the thing. There was basically no easy place to put the television or the seating. I think the footage here kind of lies, because it seems like I naturally just put the TV and couch down and it all just works. But in reality, I sat here for such a long time before making that decision and then just cut that footage out. Because it's just me, not even moving the camera, really zoning out, trying to understand how I was just going to fit a living room into this spot. Now though, it's so obvious that it's kind of laughable. Like, where else would I have put the TV? It all just fits so perfectly in this formation. I guess I could have put the TV against the staircase and it had more of an opening pathway between the kitchen and living room, but I don't know. Actually, that probably would have worked too. I like it better this way though. Plus, it allowed me to put a little table behind the couch and add more lighting there. Surprisingly, even with all of the windows in this spot, it felt too dark to me. So adding in a bunch of candles behind the couch was perfect. Just plopping down 2 chairs and that fold out sort of chair we just received from Adventure Awaits gives just the right amount of seating around a coffee table. I don't normally include my bathrooms in speed builds because they're legitimately not that interesting and it goes by so quickly. I used some ugly tile in here too. We have a lot of really ugly tile, both floor and wall tile in the game, don't we? I don't know why I went with this, but I did. And now we just have to live with it. Or if you download it, you could totally change it, but it also weirdly kind of works, doesn't it? Am I delusional? Don't answer that. As for the greenhouse, I didn't really have a plan. Plus, this space is so much smaller than I had expected it would be. And I actually took space away from it, which ended up working out because then we had room for the kitchen's cauldron, fridge, oven space. And was like, yep, that seems like the right amount of room. I don't think it's even possible to do any actual gardening in here either, especially since I made it the height of 2 floors. It does make it nice and bright though. So there's a fairy house, a little bit of greenery, not too much. The apothecary table is kind of like the only thing that is usable space in here. Then, working on decorating the porch, I literally never know what to do for porches. I think I've only successfully decorated like 2 porches in the entire time that I've been building in The Sims. And it was literally 2 of my generation houses back to back in my legacy challenge. Generations 4 and 5. 4 was the best too, because it was a cute little Brindleton Bay house with this adorable front porch with a little pet bed in a basket that I made using the round pet bed from Cats and Dogs and a debug basket from Jungle Adventure. You can find it on my gallery too. Probably the best custom item I've ever made in the game, not gonna lie. But like, how else do you decorate a porch? Add some flowers, some seating. In this case, I did both. A rocking chair and some flowers in the front, and then some more seating on the side. Another thing that I added was upstairs around the chimney. It felt like I needed like a fake balcony sort of moment, so we added that there. The layout for the second floor was surprisingly easy to decide on. I figured I'd be able to fit in 2 bedrooms here, even if they were on the smaller side. Likely a bathroom and then a small little flex space. I think the fact that the stairs are open down to below helps a lot to make this landing feel less claustrophobic too. So I ended up plotting out 3 distinct spaces: a main bathroom, a small bedroom in the smaller tower, and then the primary bedroom in the larger tower. Only one problem. What is the entire point of the bridge to that other building? Sure, it looks nice, very interesting, but like, why? So I decided, and now don't judge me, to turn that into the primary bedroom's kinda not quite ensuite bathroom. You'll see, it makes sense, I promise. In the meantime though, this landing area turns into a cozy little family room with a place to lounge and hang out around a fireplace. Plus, there's the perfect spot for a desk in that corner. Just kind of works out. The primary bedroom is, again, quite small, so I kind of just have enough room for the bed and then some shelves with lights on them to act as nightstands. There honestly might not even be enough pathing space for your Sims. I really hope there is though, because I loved the way this turned out. There's a little hallway with some storage, and then of course the door to the primary, not quite ensuite bathroom. And if you thought the primary bedroom was small, well, here we are. This room literally fits a dresser and a bed, and that's about it. I'm pretty sure your Sim can get into the bed itself from the left side only, because I added in that little suitcase thing from Adventure Awaits as a kind of nightstand or extra storage on the right. It's cute though, okay? That's all that matters. Do you remember earlier when we went absolute ham on terrain manipulation? We were like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be so damn cute. Hills everywhere. Do you know what's not cute? Landscaping that. Somehow, I say somehow like I didn't rely solely on the tool mod here, but somehow we managed to landscape here. And dare I say, this might be some of the best landscaping I've done. Like, between adding some flowers, trees, shrubs and stuff, terrain paint, this actually looks pretty natural and kind of spot on to what I was envisioning in my head, which is very unlike me when it comes to landscaping. I either am so done with a build by the time I need to start landscaping that it's so minimal or straight up barren, or I've gone all out to the point that it's probably too much. What do you think? But anyway, that is the entire speed build. So let's jump into the game and I'll give you a quick overview. So here we are in the game on the Greenwood Hamlet residence lot in Innisgreen. Just to give you a little aerial view, you come in the front door here, and then you have the kitchen over here with the island. And I did leave that scale on the floor. Oh no. Hopefully that's not on the gallery like that. And then here is a door to get into the greenhouse. Here is that main bathroom. Oh my god, I left this here too. Okay, I don't know what I did, but apparently, like, in addition to forgetting the scale here, there was just like duplicated aspects of the bathroom. So I will be re-uploading to the gallery. Anyway, we have the stairs to go upstairs, and then we have the living room over here, and you have the entire porch. And then in this little spot over here in the tower, it's just empty on the bottom because I wanted it to be just from the second floor. So once you head upstairs, you have this little like walk around, and it's really just got like a window box thing here, and then the grandfather clock. And this is the landing space. So you have the desk, you have the fireplace, there's some seating. Then you have the second bedroom over here. And then you have a half bath for everyone over here. And then this is kind of like a dresser sort of area for the primary bedroom. And then this itself is the primary bedroom. And then you just go down here and you have the primary bathroom. I probably could have also added in a closet, but I guess I didn't. But that is my Greenwood Hamlet Occult house. If you'd like to add this build to your game, you can grab it off of the gallery using my EA ID, Teknikolour. If you enjoyed this build, please drop me a like. If you want to see more of my builds, don't forget to subscribe. And if you want even more Sims content, consider dropping me a follow over on Twitch. I play my pack-based Legacy Challenge every Thursday. Planning on picking up Enchanted by Nature or any other packs? Please consider using my creator code, Teknikolour, at checkout on the EA app. It's free for you and supports the channel. Plus, my code can now be used on so many other EA titles, not just The Sims. Don't forget, if you use my code when purchasing an EA Play Pro annual subscription on the EA app, you'll receive a 16% discount until November 15th. But thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.